लक्का इलाके में अभी 8-9 मिसाइल दागे गए हैं।
This is an India Today Global exclusive. Every time India has faced a terror attack, there's one country that has stood by India, beside India, helping India, assisting India, and that is Israel. I'm being joined in this exclusive conversation by none other than the Israeli envoy to India, Ambassador Reuven Azar. Thank you so much, Ambassador Azar, for speaking with the network. You have been very kind to come here every time there has been information, news, not just on Israel, but also on India and India suffering an attack such as the Pahalgam terror attack. The playbook when it comes to Pakistan has changed. It's no longer just military targets. We're looking at civilians. How and what was Israel's reading on how Pakistan or terrorists that stay in Pakistan, terrorism emanating from Pakistan, how they have changed the playbook when it comes to India?
Unfortunately, Geeta, what we are seeing is a situation in which terrorists are committing more and more atrocious attacks. And this Pahalgam attack has been really heartbreaking to see how they target civilians that just wanted to have a good time, how they, liquidated them in front of their families. This is completely unacceptable, and it's only natural from Israel's point of view that India will exercise its right for self-defense. This reminded every Israeli of what Hamas did on the 7th of October, because people were going to a music festival, people were sleeping in their beds, and this is completely unacceptable. So the entire world has to not only condemn terrorism, but to act together against terrorism.
Is there a realization when countries such as India or even Israel for that matter suffer at the hands of terrorism, but the international community largely is mute spectator?
Well, people tend not only to refrain from condemning, sometimes people are contextualizing. They think that this happened because of a reason, that there's a certain conflict they are not being a part of, this is not their concern. It is their concern, because when the basic norms of humanity are being breached in such a brutal way, the entire world has to gather around and to condemn it and to act against it, because today it hit India, yesterday it hit Israel, tomorrow it will hit another country.
That's right.
And there are certain things that are not acceptable.
Right.
And this is completely unacceptable.
Let's talk about support. Israel has always stood by India. In terms of support, what can we expect from Israel? And in terms of technology, intelligence, what is the kind and level of cooperation that we're seeing between the two countries?
Look, we have a good level of cooperation, and most of all, we have trust. And we have trust because first of all, we do not interfere of the matters of each other, and we cooperate to upgrade our capabilities as much as we can. Only this morning I came from a conference on MRSAM, that's medium-range air defense systems that we are developing together, the Israeli aircraft industries and DRDO. So we are working together because these threats are only increasing. Imagine that in our part of the world, the terrorist organizations do not only commit the most heinous crimes, but they are also equipped with very sophisticated weapons. Rockets, missiles, ballistic missiles, and even the means to produce them.
Yes.
So this is a growing threat that is going to actually challenge the entire world. And the fact that we are working together to tackle them, I think it's going to make us more ready to give solutions to such challenges.
Ambassador, also Israel, when it comes to technology, drone technology, is a leader. It's a leading country when it comes to technology that goes beyond just conventional weapon systems in warfare. In such a scenario where we're looking at a lot of technology being shared or drones being sent or given to Pakistan from countries like Iran or for that matter China, what's the kind of and level of cooperation that we can expect between Israel and India when it comes to drones? Because the future of any war is not going to be conventional aircraft or fighter jets. It's going to be drones.
Well, it's going to be a multitude of threats. And this is the challenge, that we have to get ready for a multitude of threats, and we're working together in order to face these things that are coming at us. But I think that beyond the military aspect, there is also the diplomatic aspect and the global aspect of the fight against terrorism. Countries are not doing enough to prevent the spread of radical content in social media and in electronic media. Countries are not doing enough to punish those who proliferate sophisticated weapons to rogue states and to terrorist organizations. We are not united enough in the fight against terrorism, and we are all paying the price. As I said, today it's us, tomorrow it will be somebody else. And we have to wake up to this threat, because as we succeed as democracies, as India is rising so in such a speedy way, and as Israel is becoming so successful, the terrorists are trying to balance our success with these atrocities, because they don't have an answer in the face of their failure.
Ambassador Azar, we will talk about challenges that Israel faces and steps that Israel is going to take. But before that, we're talking about states and state complicity. It's not just about rogue states. What does a country do when the defense forces, the military of a country is involved with terrorists and terror networks? In this case, Pakistan. We have visuals of coffins being brought out of Muridke and being carried by men in uniform. That's a telling visual today, where you do know that there is complicity when it comes to terror infrastructure, terrorism, terror networks, the likes of Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, and the Pakistani military.
Well, unfortunately, this sounds too familiar to us, because the Islamic Republic of Iran has been, for the last 30 years, creating a ring of fire around Israel, has been equipping technology, the means to produce weapons to their proxies in our region. And we saw, following the 7th of October, an attack from 7 fronts against Israel, all of them orchestrated by Iran, when eventually Iran even targeted Israel directly. So we know that, and we've been working, and I've been working personally in my career to convince countries to get these sponsors of terrorism to pay a price, to isolate them, to sanction them, not to cooperate with them economically, because unless those who harbor terrorists get a message, it's going to be very difficult to deal with the threat. And at the end of the day, when diplomacy fails, then military action is required. And we, as democracies, we always try to refrain from taking action, military action, that will jeopardize our citizens. So this is a very difficult task, and I trust the Indian government, the Indian decision makers, to do the right thing for India.
De-escalation is a word that India is hearing now. Israel has heard for a while, and has been told by various countries. What do you have to tell to those countries when it comes to the challenges that you're facing, the action that was taken against Houthis in Yemen, the messaging from the United States of America, Trump administration, shifting of goalposts in many ways than one, but a determined Israel when it comes to Gaza? What's the plan ahead?
Well, we are determined to bring back our hostages and make sure that Hamas doesn't pose a threat to Israel in the future. And therefore, the cabinet has taken this decision that includes both aims. We've been, so far, using a combination of military pressure and diplomatic pressure, and we managed to bring back 194 hostages. We still have 59 hostages in the hands of Hamas. And as time passes, Hamas becomes more stubborn, because they understand the end is coming. And therefore, 2 days ago, the Israeli cabinet took a decision that we are going to take an action with 3 phases to try to finish this war. The first action we're going to take, and we are preparing for it now, is to create a humanitarian area under our control, in which international assistance is going to be given to the Palestinian civilian population. And we're going to get the population into that zone
within Gaza.
Within Gaza, in order to get them safe from Hamas, who has been abducting the assistance from them and selling it to them. The second phase is going to be military action to take more chunks of the Gaza Strip, to put more pressure on Hamas. And we hope that these actions won't be necessary and that Hamas today will renounce power and will bring the hostages back. But if they refuse, eventually we're going to have to take all the territory and defeat Hamas completely.
Okay.
We don't have any intention of maintaining Gaza Strip for the long term. When Hamas is eradicated, we're going to work with the international community to encourage local leaders to take responsibility for the civilian life, and in order to involve our partners in the international community, the United States, Arab countries, and other countries, to build a better future for the Gaza Strip.
When you say local leaders, are we looking at West Bank or are we looking at local leaders within Gaza?
We are talking about local leaders in Gaza. You know, we, unfortunately, if you remember, transferred the Gaza Strip to the Palestinian Authority back in 2005. And only a few months after we left, Hamas took over the Gaza Strip. So we are not in the business of allowing that to happen again. And therefore, we have to adopt a new approach, an approach that has zero tolerance for the buildup of terrorist organizations, whether it be in the Gaza Strip, in Judea and Samaria, or any other part in our vicinity.
In which of the phase, I know we're running out of time, but in which of the phase are we looking at Israel going into the tunnels and dismantling the tunnel infrastructure?
We already have been going into the tunnels.
Okay.
We have been destroying a lot of tunnels. We have to realize that hundreds of kilometers of tunnels have been digged in the Gaza Strip, sometimes by forced labor, by the way, of children that have been forced by Hamas to do that work. It's been terrible. It's been terrible to see how Hamas has been treating the Palestinian population. But there's no doubt that we had to face this new threat. We have to develop new methodologies of dealing with tunneling, and we are doing that. In the next phase, what we hope is going to be the final phase, we're going to dismantle infrastructure in a more thorough way, exactly as we did in South Lebanon, when we discovered huge infrastructure that has been built by Hezbollah there to prepare the Radwan force for a launch of an attack against Israel, which fortunately we thwarted. But the tunnel threat is another terrorist threat that needs to be addressed, and we will address it.
Ambassador Azar, this would be a very difficult question, but I have to ask you this. There are about 59 hostages still with Hamas. Would you know the status of the hostages? How are they? Are they still alive? How many of them? Would you know?
Well, it's terrible hardship what the hostages are going through. The estimates that have been published is that there are, out of the 59, there are between 24 and 20 that are still alive. Some of them are wounded, some of them are sick. They are starved. They are really under terrible conditions. And it's heartbreaking to see the families urging for the return, protesting against the government. It's really difficult to challenge the situation, but Israel doesn't have any choice. We cannot surrender to terrorism. Right. And Hamas has opted for this cruel tactic, and we have to show it that it's not going to work. And therefore, this combination of military pressure and diplomacy, which has brought 194 hostages, I'm sure is going to be successful in bringing more hostages. We just have to keep doing it, be determined about it, and give zero chance for the terrorists to have their way in our region.
Zero tolerance to terrorism. That's the message coming in from the Israeli envoy to India. Thank you so much, Ambassador Azar, for speaking with us here on India Today Global. Thank you.